Hey friends, so I'm going to do a get ready with me today. I've never done one of these before for kind of two reasons really. I tend to get really focused on doing my makeup and I'm afraid that I'm going to stop talking and just kind of ignore you or I will get so involved in what I am talking about and then I'll just stop doing my makeup. So I hope that you will stick with me and while I figure this whole thing out. But I wanted to chat with you guys about my move. I've gotten a lot of questions about kind of how it works, what I'm doing, where I'm going, why I'm moving, all that stuff. So I wanted to just do a little bit of information about my move, and I thought I will try and do a kind of chatty get ready with me while I talk about it and answer your questions. So let's get started. So I want to start off with saying that this is not going to be a makeup tutorial. There's no way in hell that I can do three things at the same time. I do have a makeup tutorial on my channel, so if you are looking for more comprehensive information about the products that I'm using or my techniques, please go watch that video. I will link it here for you, but yeah, I am just going to focus on getting the information out, putting my makeup on as proficiently as I can while doing so. So yeah, if you're looking for a tutorial, go find that. And we have Madam Fiona joining us today. She will probably fall asleep, so there she is. Say hi, Fee. No? Okay. So if you haven't watched my life update video, please go do that because there's a lot of information in there. But I announced there that I am moving. I'm moving from Hawaii. We are moving to the kind of the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. We don't know exactly where yet. I keep saying DC because that's actually where my husband is going to be working, but the chances of us actually living in DC are pretty low. So it's probably going to be in the Maryland or Virginia area. So I thought I would put this video together to kind of answer some questions about our move and just kind of give you guys some information about how we PCS. So I guess a little bit of background is my husband works for the Department of Defense. This is why we move as often as we do. So his job actually has offices all around the world, and because there's restrictions on how long people can stay in countries outside of the US, usually 5 years is how long you're allowed to stay. There's a lot of rotation between the overseas and the stateside offices. So that's how we were in Germany, and that's how we are here in Hawaii, and we started off when he was in the DC area when we lived in Baltimore. So that's why we move so much, and so because he is with the Department of Defense, it is a PCS move. So PCS stands for Permanent Change of Station. So even though he's not in the military anymore, we are still subject to the Department of Defense. The government moves. So the government actually moves us, which is kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time, because you know they actually will kind of take care of almost everything. They send movers out, they get us all packed up and everything, but it's also we have to wait on orders. So my husband actually has to get orders from his job that, you know, that say, okay, yes, you're allowed to move, and we cannot do or schedule anything until those orders have been produced. And it generally has to do with like when the fiscal year begins or ends or how much money they have or whatever. So we are still waiting on orders. It is the middle of September, and we are supposed to be leaving. His report date to DC is November 8th. So we have not scheduled any of our movers. We haven't scheduled anything. We can't yet until we get those orders. So it is incredibly stressful, but it's so regimented, and it's so kind of the same way, things are done the same way every time, that this is our third PCS. I had to count it all out. This is our third PCS, our fifth like big move, and our 10th move in general since we've been married, and we've been married for 20 years. So this will be our third PCS with the government, and so I do kind of know what to expect. It doesn't make it any less stressful, but it's it's kind of the same steps. But it's really frustrating when you're kind of waiting on other people to do things so you can get your stuff together. So that's why we're moving. It's for my husband's job. So one of the things that I realized when I did our first PCS, when we moved from Baltimore to Germany, was I looked up a lot of information, and most of it has or is put together by military spouses, which is great. But I was informed that I really needed to create a PCS binder, and this just really helps to keep everything organized. And I'll show you what my PCS binder looks like right now, but it's kind of not put together quite yet because we don't have a lot of the paperwork, but it helps to keep everything in one place, all of your moving documents, with your orders, especially if you're moving overseas. You really have to have orders for everything, because that's kind of the permission slip to do pretty much anything with your move, is your orders. And then it has, you can put all of your personal documents. I always keep our marriage certificate, birth certificates, anything like that, because you keep that binder with you at all times. And because I didn't take my husband's last name, I constantly have to prove that I am in fact his wife. So I always have to have my marriage certificate with us to show that I am actually married to him. But that's a completely different story right there. But so basically what happens is they produce the orders, they give us our orders to kind of, release the Kraken, release everything, so then we can start scheduling the moving company. And so we have to hire a moving company, and they come in and they pack everything. So we actually are not allowed to pack anything with any of our household goods, because if we pack it, then they kind of release responsibility for it. So if anything happens to it, if it breaks, if it gets lost or whatever, we are liable for it, not them. So this kind of, having them pack everything, again, is a blessing and a curse. It's nice to have someone else do the work for you, so you don't actually physically have to do it. But it's also really, really frustrating to allow other people to touch your things and pack your things. But they are professionals. They do know what they're doing. They are generally really good about packing, all of your valuables and your breakable things pretty well. We've been really fortunate with the two major moves that we've had. So we moved from Baltimore to Germany, and then Germany to Hawaii. We've had very few things break, and most of them are just, things that I didn't really care about. So with all of my antiques, all of my vintage stuff, they've been really good about wrapping them properly and, knowing how to box them up and wrap them really well. So I'm hoping that this is the case this time, because it is really frustrating to let those things get wrapped up on their own without your supervision. I mean, we're there, but it's generally like I don't know, 4 or 5, sometimes 6 guys come in and are just, they're all over your house. They're packing everything, they're wrapping everything, and it can be really difficult to supervise that. But they usually get it done. They usually get like the packing done within like a day, sometimes a day and a half. And then they load everything up into crates that's on like a huge semi truck. And then those crates get packed up into, I don't know, like another cargo crate. And then that gets loaded up onto a ship. And so from here, from Hawaii, it gets obviously loaded on the ship and it goes to the West Coast. And from there, it either gets loaded onto a train or on a truck, and then it makes its way across the US. So that's pretty much how the packing goes. It happens really quickly. It's usually like 2 days, and your entire house is packed up and put on put in cargo trucks, and it's gone. It's usually sits in the port for, I don't know, a week or so until they fill everything up on the ship. But it takes, I think from here to DC, it's gonna take, I'd say probably, I'm guessing at 6 weeks. I'm thinking 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the weather too. Like if there's a lot of storms or anything, which that is always terrifying to me to think about storms with all of your stuff on a ship. But it's all secure in there. It's all boarded up and into these wooden crates and then into a metal crate. So generally nothing happens unless the boat sinks or something. But God, please, let's all think good thoughts on that one. So that's our household goods. That's all, like all of your stuff, all of your furniture, your pots and pans, all that stuff. That's considered your household goods. And so what they usually offer is another thing called unaccompanied baggage. And that's a separate shipment that is typically flown to your final destination. And all of that stuff is anything that you would need for, kind of to live with in an empty house for up to 2 months. Because, it takes about 2 months for your stuff to get to you. We live in a hotel basically for 1 to 2 months before all of our stuff gets there, before we find a house. But you're able to send ahead this unaccompanied baggage, and there's all kinds of lists out there that kind of help you figure out what to send ahead of time. And they've all been incredibly helpful because sometimes there's things in there that you wouldn't think to bring or to send ahead, because it's a lot to think about. you think about what you would need for 1 to 2 months if you were staying in an empty house. So we generally send off an air mattress. We send off a couple of like folding lounge chairs just to have something to sit on. We have a set of TV trays that we always send off ahead. Pots and pans, some dishes, blankets, sheets, extra clothes. That's another thing that's kind of an issue right now, is that we live in Hawaii and all of my winter stuff, all of my fall and winter stuff is in storage. But by the time we get to the DC area, it is going to be cold. It's going to be fall and winter. So I need to make sure that I'm packing all that winter stuff, all that cold weather stuff ahead of time. So I don't freeze my butt off. And again, I won't have my full wardrobe. I won't have everything for a good 2 months. So I need to make sure that I have 2 months worth of clothing that, that I'm comfortable with, that is going to keep me warm. So that's the unaccompanied baggage, and that gets sent off again, as soon as we have our orders, we can put our unaccompanied baggage together and get that sent off. And I think I've heard a lot of people, especially in the military, who do moves on a fairly regular basis, like every 1 to 2 years. They actually have like a double set of things just for the unaccompanied baggage. And we kind of did that, especially in Germany. It took much longer for our stuff to get to Germany. So we did buy actually another set of dishes. We bought another set of pots and pans that are they're cheapy pots and pans. They're, not things that we normally use. But we have them now for this unaccompanied baggage that we can just send them ahead of time. And because we have dogs, we have to think about what they need. So we send off dog beds, we send off their crates, and other dog food, anything like that that's going to make them comfortable, while we are also, all of us, living either in a hotel or in an empty house. So the actual move part is a little bit different this time because our 2 dogs are elderly, and one of them, she's massive. She's a Cane Corso. She's an Italian Mastiff, so she's 125 pounds. And our vet is really concerned with her flying. So obviously the only way that we're going to get her off the island is to fly her to the West Coast. And so what we've decided to do is, instead of flying everybody to the West Coast and then flying again to the East Coast, we are going to fly us all to the West Coast. We're sending one of our cars earlier, and we're going to pick it up there, and then we're going to drive across. It's just easier for her to be in a car, to be spread out. Yes, it's going to take several days, but to be honest, being stuck on this island for 2 years, I am super excited about just driving, being able to drive and not going in a circle and actually getting to different places. So I'm really excited about that. And I think it's just going to be easier. It's going to be much better on the dogs. Okay, I have to concentrate on this because otherwise I'm not going to get it right. Hold on. So once we actually get to our destination, we are put up in a hotel. Generally, it's like an extended stay kind of situation where it has like a kitchenette or some sort of, little kitchen-y thing. So we don't have to constantly eat out, which is nice. But yeah, it's just, it's a small like hotel type room, and we're there with the dogs, and then we start looking for a place. So somebody had asked what we were looking for in a house, and we've been going back and forth on this for a while now, on whether we want to buy a house, whether we want to rent a house, and what we're going to do with us. We have sold our 2 houses. We had a house in Raleigh, North Carolina. We had one in Pasadena, Maryland, in Baltimore, and we've sold both of those houses. We used to rent them out when we were in Germany, and it was just a pain in the butt to do all of that from that far away. And I will tell you that this move to DC is a temporary move. This is not going to be forever. We probably have 1 or 2 more moves ahead of us, and most likely we are going to be going back to Europe, hopefully within a year or 2. So it was supposed to happen. This move was supposed to be back to Germany, but things didn't work out with his counterpart in Germany. So, but it will be happening again. So we're not sure. I think right now we're leaning towards renting, and so with that we're kind of limited on what options we have. We would love to have an older home. We want to have something that has character. We want something that feels right for us. This house here in Hawaii does not feel right to us. It's a newer home, and although it does have some kind of character things, it's really just, it's a cheaply made home, and we don't like it. So So yes, we would love to have an older home. And to be honest, I would love to buy another house, but the fact that we know that we're not going to be there for very long means that we're going to have to rent it out again, and I just don't know if I'm ready for that. We had one really bad renter that really screwed us over in North Carolina, and it just put a really bad taste in my mouth, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating to be so far away, and to anything that goes wrong, and if people who want to move out, and then it's it's a bad time of year, it's hard to get it rented again, and then your house sits empty and you're paying for mortgage, and anyway, so it's kind of a frustrating thing that I really don't want to deal with. If we knew we were going to be here for a lot longer, or be there for a lot longer, I would definitely buy. But we are hoping that it's only going to be another year or two, and I don't think I want to deal with it. So I'm trying to just rent a house. So if anybody knows of a really cool old rental, an old house rental that we can get in the DC, Virginia, Maryland area, let me know. So somebody asked what I am most looking forward to, and I don't really know if I can pinpoint it down to one thing. I'm very glad to be getting out of Hawaii. I'm super excited for the fall. I'm excited for being able to go vintage and antique shopping again. Yeah, I'm excited for all of it. And it's funny because, the DC, Virginia area, it's not my favorite place. It's definitely not my favorite place in the world, but I like it, and I'm really excited about seeing my friends again. I have a lot of friends in that area, and I have a lot of friends in New York, which is close, and Philadelphia, and we'll be closer to my husband's family in Pittsburgh, so we'll be able to see them a little bit more. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm really excited about. Just being, being closer to the things that I know and like. And also because we didn't live in the DC area before. We lived in Baltimore, and my husband worked in this exact same place, but we just lived in Baltimore because that's where my business was. And so I'm excited about exploring that area. And we spent a decent amount of time in some parts of DC and like Alexandria and stuff, but I'd really like to spend more time and just kind of get to know that area a little bit more intimately, I guess. So yeah, that's very exciting to me. So yeah, so somebody asked about like how do I prepare things to get shipped and all of that stuff, and there's not a lot of prep work that I can do. Like I said, I'm not allowed to pack anything. I have to just let them do everything, really. I have to let them pack everything. I can kind of group things together. So what I'll do, a couple days before they come is I'll take everything off the walls, which honestly here we didn't hang up a whole lot of stuff in this house. We didn't do a whole lot of decorating here because we just, I don't know, didn't like it and didn't feel like it. So I'll take all of the pictures off the walls, kind of group them all together. I do take all of our clothes out of our dressers, and I will just put them into like big, suitcases, big luggage cases, because these movers, as great as they are, they're really fast, they will just grab things and just pack it and not necessarily put things in the same box. And so when you're unpacking, it can be very confusing. They will also just pick up stuff and pack it. I mean, they packed, when we moved from Baltimore to Germany, they packed a full trash can with trash in it. Like, they just grabbed the whole trash can. They didn't check to see if there was any trash in it. So I unwrapped, after, for 2-3 months on a ship from Baltimore to Germany. That was disgusting. We had to just throw the whole thing out. But yeah, they're very not observant on something. So you do have to kind of, it's a really weird thing. Like, you have to supervise, you have to be available to them to answer any questions. But you don't want to hover. Like, you don't want to act like you're kind of micromanaging and watching over them. So it's kind of, you have to find that fine line of being available to them to answer questions and kind of letting them know that you're watching them, but without being that, like, crazy hovering person. So somebody asked me if I like change, like if I'm okay with all of this moving. And I actually talked to my therapist about this yesterday, that I am generally not a person that does well with change at all. I resist change in the beginning. I'm really bad if someone comes to me with, and it could be anything, with personal stuff, with work, whatever, and they want to change something. I immediately just like, no, absolutely not. Like, the way we're doing it is fine. We don't need to change it. And then I kind of go through this cycle of, I kind of calm down after that initial pushback, and then I start to think about it, and I start to imagine what that change would be like, and then I can really kind of feel whether I like that change or if it's too much for me, or if I don't like, the outcome of what it may be. And so even though I feel like I'm very resistant to change, I think that I'm also very adaptable eventually. It does take a little while, and it takes my brain like a way of, if I can think of it as like it's my choice, it's me that's actually making the change, then I'm much better at it. But when it's an external force, when somebody is forcing me to change, that's when I get my hackles up. I get really, really resistant to it. So, but I mean, as much as we have moved, I've been fine with all of it. I was not happy about moving to Hawaii, but I did it. I dealt with it, and I knew it wasn't going to kill me. And so, yeah, I mean, it's definitely not what I would love to have a place where I just like put down roots. I stay in that house for a really long time and just kind of use that place as my base to travel, because we love traveling. We want to travel for the rest of our lives. And I'm very excited about moving back to Europe, and that's where we're actually planning on kind of putting our roots down, is that's where we're going to end up retiring and staying for the rest of our lives. So that part of it is really exciting to me. And I just know that I have to get through all of this before I can get to that point. Okay, another thing I have to concentrate on. Okay, well, this is as far as I'm going to get with getting ready today. I need to wash my hair tomorrow, so it's just gonna stay up in the turban. Fiona says thank you for watching and sticking with me while I get ready and answer questions about my move. And hopefully, I do plan on kind of filming some of the process of the move when the actual movers are here and going through that process. So I hope that we get our orders soon so we can start planning everything, and within the next couple of months we will be in the process of packing up and moving on out, and I will bring you guys with me as much as I possibly can. So thanks again so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.